Stop whatever is running in the background of your mind right now, whatever low-level noise has been filling the space of your attention, whatever comfortable half presence you have been moving through your day with. Stop. This reading is not background content. This is not something to absorb passively while you are doing something else. Because what I am about to say to you is the kind of thing that requires you to be fully here, not performing attention actually here, in the full quality of the presence that you are capable of when you decide something deserves it. Decide, because what the universe is doing around you right now is not a gentle nudge. It is not the soft suggestion of energy that has been trying to get your attention gradually through the language of mild discomfort and subtle signals and the kind of intuitive knowing you can still choose to file under maybe later. This is the last time it is going to say this, and it is saying it now. I want to explain what the list is, because that word arrived in this reading with a specific weight, and I am not going to leave it as a dramatic image without giving it its full meaning. The list is not a punishment. It is not a ledger of failures or a record of what you have done wrong, or a cosmic accounting of the ways you have fallen short of something. The universe does not operate that way. It does not keep score in the punitive sense. The list is something entirely different. It is the list of people who have been identified by the specific logic of their own energy and their own choices and their own ongoing orientation toward something real, as ready, as having done enough of the interior work, accumulated enough of the necessary knowing, weathered enough of the necessary difficulty to be moved into a different category of experience, the category where things actually happen, where the waiting ends and the receiving begins, where the energy that has been building in the preparation phase gets released into the manifestation phase with a completeness and a momentum that is different in quality from anything that came before. You have been put on that list. And this reading is the warning that comes just before the list activates, the last signal before the engine turns over, the final moment of one thing before the beginning of something else. The first image arrives, and it is unlike anything I have described before in this series. I see something being written, not a letter, not a message, something more formal than either of those, something that has the quality of an official document, of a record being updated, of a name being added to something that existed before the name arrived and that will continue to exist after, but that is different now for containing it. And the name being written is yours, not as punishment, not as citation, with the specific quality of notation that belongs to a record of those who have arrived at a threshold, who have crossed an invisible line that exists not in space, but in readiness, who have accumulated through the specific and ongoing and mostly private and rarely acknowledged work of becoming the precise quality and quantity of alignment that this particular next level of experience requires. Your name, in ink that does not fade, and what follows the writing of your name is not waiting. It is activation. I need to speak directly about what this warning is warning you about, because a warning from the universe in the tradition of how these things move is not a warning of danger. It is a warning of change, of something coming that is large enough that walking into it without awareness would mean receiving it at a fraction of its potential impact, would mean being swept by it rather than meeting it, would mean the difference between an experience that transforms you and an experience that merely happens to you. The warning is this: something is about to accelerate, not gradually, not in the way that change usually builds, allowing you to adjust incrementally, allowing the person you are to slowly incorporate what is arriving into the person you are becoming without too jarring a discontinuity. This is the other kind. The kind where the pace of change in your external life, the developments, the opportunities, the relationships, the circumstances that are about to begin moving, is going to be faster than anything you have recently experienced. And the warning is asking you to do one specific thing before it arrives. Get current with yourself. Let me explain what I mean by that. Because it is the most important thing this reading is going to say, and I want to say it with the precision it deserves. Getting current with yourself means closing the gap, whatever gap currently exists, between who you have been presenting to the world and who you actually are. Between the version of yourself you have been running in the external spaces of your life and the version that exists in your most honest interior, between the things you have been saying yes to out of habit or comfort or the accumulated momentum of old decisions and the things you would say yes to if you were operating from your full clarity. That gap, whatever its current size, is about to become expensive to maintain because what is coming is calibrated to the real you, the full you, the version of you that exists when you are most aligned, most honest, most entirely in correspondence with what you actually know and value and want and are. And if there is significant distance between that version and the version you are currently running, the speed of what is approaching is going to make that distance feel larger rather than smaller. This is the warning, not to scare you, not to produce in you the anxious scrambling of someone who believes they are unprepared, but to give you this specific window, this last moment before the acceleration begins, to close whatever gap remains, to say the true things to yourself that have been waiting to be said, to release the things you have been holding out of habit that no longer belong in the life you are actually moving toward. Use this window. It is exactly the right size for what needs to happen in it. Tell me in the comments something that you have been putting off, not a task, something more significant than a task, a decision that has been waiting, a truth that has been known but not yet acted on, a conversation with yourself about something in your life that is not in alignment with where you are actually going, that you have been meaning to address, that you know needs addressing, but that has been existing in the comfortable purgatory of things that are acknowledged but not yet changed. You do not have to tell me what it is. Just tell me if there is one. Because the warning is pointing directly at it. Whatever that thing is, it is the specific thing that this window of time is asking you to move on. I see a second image now, and it carries the full weight of everything this reading is building toward. I see a threshold, but not the threshold from the manifesting reading earlier in this series. That threshold was between one phase of a life and the next, stood on with equanimity, crossed with deliberateness. This threshold is different. This one is on fire, not in the destructive sense, in the transformative sense, in the sense of a threshold that is actively, energetically, with full and committed intensity, alive. That is not a passive boundary between two spaces, but a living thing, a thing that is doing something, that is changing the quality of everything in its vicinity. That is producing in the air around it a heat that is impossible to stand near without feeling. And this threshold has your name on it, not written in fire, carved, permanent. The specific notation of something that was decided at a level above the personal, at the level where the logic of a life and the logic of what that life is being prepared to receive converge. You belong at this threshold. You have been moving toward it for longer than you knew that was what the moving was toward. And the fire, the active, alive, impossible to stand near without feeling fire of it, is not there to stop you. It is there to mark it, to make it unmistakable, to ensure that when you arrive at it, and you are arriving, there is no possibility of walking past it without knowing exactly what you are walking through. I want to speak to the last time quality of this warning because last time is significant language and it deserves honest engagement. The universe communicates in the particular language of intuition and pattern and the specific quality of feeling that distinguishes information from noise. It has been communicating with you about the thing this reading is pointing to, not once, repeatedly, in the various forms that repeated communication takes when it is trying to get through to someone who has the capacity to receive it, but who has been, for whatever reason, not fully acting on what has been received. You have felt this before, the pull towards something, the sense that something in a specific area of your life needs to change, the awareness, quiet but consistent, that the current configuration of something, a relationship, a professional situation, a habit, a belief about yourself or about what is possible for you, is not the configuration that belongs to where you are going. You have felt it and you have noted it and you have done with it what humans sometimes do with things they know but are not yet ready to fully act on. You have filed it. The warning is that the filing period is over, not because you failed by filing it, because the timing that was needed for you to be ready to act on it has now elapsed. Because the version of you that exists right now is the version that has enough clarity, enough grounding, enough self-possession to actually do the thing the feeling has been pointing toward rather than noting it and returning it to the drawer. The drawer is closed. The time is now. The third image comes through and it has a quality of extraordinary precision. I see an arrow in flight, already released, already past the moment of release, past the hand that let it go, past the bow that gave it its direction, already in its own trajectory, moving with the specific and committed motion of something that has left the conditions of its origin and is now entirely in the authority of where it is going. This arrow is what is coming toward you. And what I want you to understand about it is that it was aimed not randomly, not in the general direction of your life and landing where it happens to land at you specifically, with the precision of something that has been calibrated to the exact coordinates of who you are and what you have been building and what the next level of your experience is supposed to look like. You are the target in the best possible sense of that word. You are what was aimed at. And the arrow already in flight, already past the point of being redirected or recalled or aimed differently, is going to arrive with the speed and the accuracy of something that was designed for exactly this. The only remaining question is whether you will be standing in the right place when it does. Not physically, in the internal sense. Whether the version of you that receives it will be the version that is fully current with itself, that has used this window to close whatever gap remained, that is standing at the threshold with the openness and the grounded readiness of someone who has done the work and knows it and is no longer waiting for permission to step into what that work has prepared them for. Be that version. This is the last warning before the arrow arrives, and it is landing in your life whether you are ready or not. Be ready. I want to speak now about what being on the list actually means for the practical texture of your life going forward. Because spiritual readings can gesture toward change without being specific about what change actually looks like in the lived experience of a specific human being on a specific Tuesday. And I want to be more specific than that. Being on this list means that the pace of relevant development in your life is about to increase. Not all development, not a flurry of random activity that produces the sensation of motion without genuine progress, relevant development. The specific and targeted kind that moves you in the direction you have been slowly, sometimes painfully, orienting yourself toward. Opportunities that match who you actually are rather than who others have decided you are. Relationships that operate at the frequency you actually vibrate at rather than the frequency you have been modulating yourself to accommodate. Financial developments that reflect the actual value of what you bring rather than the discounted value that underpositioned people accept. Things are going to start matching. The inside and the outside of your life are going to begin corresponding to each other in a way they have not always corresponded. And the correspondence, when it builds momentum, has a quality of acceleration that can feel surprising even to someone who was expecting it, even to someone who did everything right. Even to someone who used the window, closed the gap, stood at the threshold with full readiness, it still surprises. Because the speed of what aligns when alignment is genuinely reached is one of those things that cannot be fully imagined from the other side of it. You will see. Let me close this reading the same way it opened, directly. The universe does not warn lightly. It does not deploy the language of last time as rhetorical emphasis or to create urgency in a reading for the sake of engagement. When this specific language arrives in an energy as clearly as it arrived in yours today, it means something specific and real. This is the moment, not a moment like other moments, not one in a sequence of similar opportunities that will continue presenting themselves until you are ready. This particular configuration of readiness and timing and available momentum will not hold indefinitely. It is here now, in the specific shape it is in now, available to the specific version of you that exists right now and that has everything it needs to step into what is being offered. You have been put on the list The list of people the universe has decided are ready. And the universe, once it decides someone is ready, moves. Not slowly, not with the patience of something that has all the time in the world, with the full and committed speed of something that has been waiting for readiness and has found it and is not going to wait any longer. You are ready. You have been ready. The list has simply made it official. Now, step forward into the fire of the threshold, into the path of the arrow that was aimed at you, into the life that has been building toward this moment from the very beginning. Step